Seph Schlueter is with us here. He's a singer, songwriter, founder of Damascus Worship. Also, really excited to have you in town, Seph. You're going to be at Moraine Valley Church in Palos Heights, Illinois. That's on
Yeah.
April 24th. Looking forward to having you in the Chicago area. Seph, one thing I love about you is your music background is unique in that while you started playing piano at a pretty young age and you had this passion for music, you said you wanted to be the next Shawn Mendes. You ended up as a worship leader. So bring us into your childhood and a bit of that evolution that took place and how God brought you into ministry.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like for me, I grew up in a ministry family. My dad, both my parents were super involved in ministry. And so we grew up praying together, doing praise and worship together, all that kind of stuff. So I think music resonated with me in a deep way. Like, I would just go to our basement and play music for hours, Being homeschooled, I had the time. So, I could go down and just play music. And for me at first, it was kind of, the songs that resonated with emotions I was feeling or songs that made me feel emotions. It's like it's funny you listen to these, breakup songs, Adele or Shawn Mendes or whoever it is, and you feel like you just got broken up with, even though you've never been in a relationship in your life. And so, but music makes you feel something. It's the beauty of music in so many ways. And I remember just kind of being in that place and be like, oh my gosh, like this is how I want to express myself and all these different things. And then I remember um in high school, like really discovering like worship music for the first time. And I think the best way to describe it is I didn't just, when I heard worship music in that way, like it wasn't just me feeling things, it was me feeling someone.
Hmm.
And I felt like that is way different and way better,
Yeah.
And I just remember like being in my basement and hearing this worship song play for the first time. I literally just came up on my like YouTube suggested. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And I played it and I'm like, oh my goodness, I feel different. It's different than just like an emotion that I feel when I'm playing, an Ed Sheeran song or whatever it is. It's like I feel like there's someone who's in the room now that wasn't in that way in a second before, and you just feel the spirit. And so I think from that moment on, I knew like for me, it wasn't like about, doing the pop thing,
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
would have never made it in the pop world. Uh, but it was about like, wow, like the more I got to know Jesus and the more I experienced him and the more I had opportunities to just like worship him or participate in worship events or whatever, I just saw how it was changing my life and saw how it was changing other people's lives. And I was like, I want that. Like that's what I want to do. That's what's important to me to be able to like actually beyond just like I don't know, a song that makes you feel something. Like I'm like, I want people to meet the same person that I've met. So that's like a kind of a little bit of an evolution of the journey.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I definitely agree that your music allows us to experience God and like hear his voice. One song in particular that really speaks to me is Counting My Blessings. And it's just so powerful. If I can be a little personal, Jake and I, we have been experiencing infertility throughout our marriage. And so one thing that the Lord has put on our hearts is to pray for healing and for a miracle. And um, I love how in Counting My Blessings, you talk about that, how you were afraid to pray for a miracle. And then look at now all that God has blessed you with. And it's something that gives me a lot of hope. And one question I have for you is what would you say to somebody who is having trouble counting their blessings in times that looks hard, where it's hard to find the blessings?
Yeah. I think sometimes we do things because we believe it, and sometimes we do it like until we believe it. Is
Hmm.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really easy to count your blessings because you feel it, you feel grateful. Something great just happened in your life. And other times you're like, the last thing I want to do right now is count my blessings, is to give gratitude.
Yeah.
But I think it's in those moments where it matters the most, and I think it's in those moments where one, you do it because the more you do it, like we all have something to be grateful for.
Yeah.
If you're alive, if you're breathing, there are things to be grateful for. And so when you start to do it, it's amazing the effect it has on your mind, on your soul, on your spirit. Like, I mean, studies show like how gratitude is helps people live longer, how it helps with, combat anxiety or like even just from like a physiological standpoint. just beginning that, like, to start doing that will actually help you. But I also think from a spiritual perspective, when you start to do that, I think it gives God like an opening to move in a new way in your heart.
Mm.
And it's like
Mm.
sometimes it's just the discipline of doing it. You don't feel it, but like, I don't know, like so often we work out, we don't feel like doing it, or we, have to go to work and we don't feel like doing it. Like, I feel like so often in our lives, we do things that we don't feel like doing because we know it's a good thing to do. And I think it's the similar with gratitude, with counting our blessings, with whatever it might be.
Mhm.
That even when you don't feel it, like God didn't say rejoice always, but only when you feel like it.
Mm.
Like he just said
Amen.
rejoice always, pray
Oh,
constantly, and everything give thanks, you know? And so it wasn't like oh, but you don't have to when you don't feel like it. And I think it's just like, all right, we're told to do this, and that means it must be good for us. It's like a parent, you tell kids to do something like, I don't understand why I can't have sugar, I can't do this, or I can't say,
right.
well, why I can't just cross the street whenever. Um, like it's like, oh, it's because there's actually something good for you that someone who's smarter than me and understands more than me is prescribing because they know more than I do. And so it's a humility thing of you've told me to do this.
Right.
I don't quite understand why, but I'm going to trust that you know better than I do because really I don't know much at all. And so
Mm.
I'm going to trust, I'm going to do it regardless of if I feel it or not.
Amen.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. It's like the prescription for us, when we're in even if we're in a difficult time, the Lord calls us to have gratitude and just thank him for even the small things in our life. And
Yeah.
what are some of the things that you are thankful for, like the small things in your life?
I'm grateful for the sunshine right now.
Amen. Yes.
Yeah, after the cold season, we've had some crazy beautiful
Seriously.
days,
Yeah, yeah, we
which
need
is
this.
awesome. You know, I'm so grateful. I'm grateful for like rest. I think the ability to
Mm.
in a crazy year, a crazy life, really. Like
Yeah.
uh,
Mhm.
being able to just factor in and appreciate times of rest, I think is one of those small things that I think gets overlooked. But it's like, well, I'm so grateful for days of just being able to rest and enjoy. I'm grateful for good books. I love reading. I'm a big reader, so I feel like just having time to read and do and engage in books in that way is like a huge thing. I'm grateful for the season of Lent. I actually love
Yeah.
Lent.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
Me too.
it stretches you, but it's kind of exactly what it's like the perfect
Yeah.
in the butt to get you going. Uh,
Yeah.
so I'm grateful for the season of Lent and just being able to recommit and double down on commitments to the Lord and just
Hmm.
relationship with the Lord. So I don't know, those are a few of the little things that I'm grateful for. Obviously, so many big things like, my wife, my job, my friends, family, all that kind of stuff.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that, Seth. And one thing I love about you is that you are such a great bridge for us in the Christian music industry, coming from a Catholic background. So I'd be curious just to hear about some of that experience of how you've been able to bridge more unity in a time where we need more of that in the world today, and we need that witness.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's so cool. The Lord is the unifier, and He's the one, like the Spirit unifies. And I feel like that's happening all throughout the church. And I just get to witness it and, do whatever God's calling, work however God's calling me to. But I mean, I think it's sweet. I've been so blessed at how welcoming and armed people have been. I feel like more and more we are uniting around Jesus as the most important one of it all. And
Mhm.
I think that's just really cool. I think some of the things that previously would have really divided people, we're realizing don't matter as much as maybe we thought they did. It's like, hey,
Sure.
guess what? There are millions of souls that don't know Jesus. Let's go get those souls. And once we have all the souls that know Jesus, then like we can talk about I mean, we can still talk about our differences and stuff,
Sure.
like for me, it's way more important to focus on getting people for Jesus. And I feel
Yeah.
like that's what
Mm.
I have what I've found in just relationship and conversations with people is like, oh yeah, we might be different denominations, we might believe different things here and there, but reality is we're all on the same team. And I think that being able to witness that and see that and just I think even give people, a different perception of what the Catholic Church is, I think has
Yeah.
been cool too, because I don't, introduce myself, hey, I'm Seth and I'm a Catholic artist. Like
Right. Right. Right.
that's way less important to me than the fact that, hey, I'm Seth and I love Jesus and I believe in Jesus and you do
Mhm.
too. And so like
Mhm.
let's connect and let's build the kingdom together. And
Mhm.
if along the way, it's like, oh wait, you're Catholic? It's like, yeah, I am. Then all of a sudden they have like a totally different view of what Catholic meant because to them it meant doesn't have a personal relationship with Jesus, doesn't really talk about their faith, doesn't know
Mhm.
scripture, worships Mary, all the things that like, are thought about Catholics, some real, some not,
Sure.
and it's like, oh, but now you know me as a person, you know me as a
Mhm.
Christian, you know me
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
friend, and so your perception of me doesn't change, your perception of Catholicism changes, and you're like,
Yep.
wait, you can be Catholic and do this, you can be Catholic and you believe that, like, I
Mhm.
think like that is the cool thing, where, and I get to learn more about other denominations too and what they believe in. It's like just a cool unity thing of like, wow, like, we're way more similar than we thought.
Amen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that. On social media, you have talked about how there's a revival in the young church,
Mhm.
and could you share some of that hope and that energy that you've witnessed that some people may not be aware of?
Yeah, totally. So the ministry I work for is called Damascus, and one of the biggest things we do is we run the largest Catholic summer camp in the world. And so we have about 6,000 kids coming to summer camp every summer. And middle schoolers and high schoolers are coming, and so many of them are coming from families that maybe like raise them Catholic or Christian or whatever. Maybe they go to Catholic school, but start off not really having a relationship with God. And they come to these camps and they encounter the person of Jesus. And it is so beautiful to see how it totally transforms their life. And they'll come up. My favorite thing is at the end of the week of camp, we have time of testimony. And these kids will come up. Their parents are there. It's like the closing ceremonies. These kids will stand before their peers and their families and talk about how they weren't following Jesus. They encountered him and now they want to live for him totally and radically. And it's amazing. It's like, I mean, anyone can say anything on a retreat high. It's like we've
That's
all
true.
been there, we've all felt that. But the
Yeah.
coolest part about it is to see when they come back to camp a year later, and there's so many testimonies of them bringing their families back to church for the first time, or getting their families to talk and pray together. Or we have what we call the prayer day, where we give them like scripture for 365 days, and they'll come back a year later and be like, I prayed every single day. I opened my Bible and prayed with the word, did Lectio Divina, did whatever it is,
Oh,
every single day for a year. It's like, what middle school can keep a habit for a year, let alone a spiritual?
Wow.
It's like,
That's
so
God
just
right there.
see,
mhm.
right. And just to see, they're praying with their sports teams, they're praying, with their friends, like just to see the way that God is moving in that capacity is so encouraging. And, it's run by a bunch of young adults. So that speaks to the
Yeah.
kind of the young adult revival that's happening where, Gen Zers are just really passionate about mission more and more and like actually living the faith and not just like kind of like dabbling in it and like, wow, this is what it means to be locked in for the Lord. This is what it means to serve the Lord. This is what it means to lay my life down for the Lord. And so I think on both of those fronts, it's just really cool to see the young church really rising up and seeing revival in it.
It's so encouraging, Steph. I agree with you because so much of the conversation revolves around how the church is dying, right? But you see, I see, we see the exact opposite, that there's so much good happening in the church, and it's good to put a spotlight on that. So if people are interested in learning more about Damascus, where can they go?
Yeah, Damascus.net.
Okay.
It's summer camps. We have men's and women's retreats. We have a young adult conference. We have a worship conference. We have all sorts of things going on.
Nice. Well, looking forward to seeing you in town, Chicagoland, and Palos
Yes.
Heights. Moraine Valley Church. It's going to be April 24th. Get your tickets for that show. Seth, our prayers are with you. Keep up the great work you're doing, man.
Thanks so much. You guys too.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so
It's an
much.
honor to talk to you.
So
God
nice
bless.
to meet
All
you.
right, God bless.